Trump is going to come out and give a speech at the DOJ tomorrow. Wow, this is going to be wild. So he's planning an unusual visit to the DOJ on Friday. Wow. Trump's appearance will be the latest illustration of how he's taken a direct interest in the DOJ. Yeah, I wonder why. Those dismissed from the department took office. Maybe he's going to go check on these files. Where are the files? That's it. I'm going. Where's the drawer? I hope he does, man. Okay, what office are they in? Nope. What office? Take me there. Trump, who also had 2 state criminal indictments against him by the rigged Democrats, obviously unhappy with the DOJ. After winning the election, we got Bondi and Kash Patel, who have just they're getting their feet under them. They're warming up over there. Most presidents historically have maintained the appearance of the Justice Department being independent for their own interest so that they could use it and abuse it. Trump accused Biden of using the DOJ to target him because, of course, he did. Bondi and Patel are expected to be present on Friday. Yeah, so we might be covering this live. So we might have a schedule change tomorrow. Whenever that speech is, I think we'll be covering it live because that's going to be wild if it's public, if it's live. President Trump, they said, will visit the Department of Justice to give remarks on restoring law and order, removing violent criminals from our communities, and ending the weaponization of justice against Americans for their political leanings, said Caroline Leavitt to Axios. Says Trump's historic visit to the department will signify another promise made and another promise kept in the House. So that'll be fun. That'll be happening tomorrow. I'm sure we'll cover that live. You also may have seen this one, but elimination of the income tax, at least for some people in a certain bracket. Here's what Howard Lutnick said about Trump's final intention to finally start the phasing out of the illegal and unconstitutional income tax.
But it sounds like you're saying, trust us. And are you worried that at some point, Americans are going to feel like there's a bunch of billionaires in Washington who are playing Russian roulette with our retirement?
$2 trillion deficits don't bother you at all. How could you ask me while we're running a $2 trillion deficit
They don't care.
and not care? You're destroying the people who have run this country before are destroying the future for my children and my children's children. I can't have a 50, 75. We have a $36 trillion deficit. And we used to run deficits of 400 billion. Now 2 trillion, everybody,
Whatever.
Who cares? I tell you what, who cares? Donald Trump cares. And when we balance the budget, you know what that means? That means our deficits stop. Interest rates come smashing down. His goal is to have external revenue. The way I think about it, we all are so used to paying taxes. We're so used to it. We have Stockholm Syndrome. Don't stop the Internal Revenue Service, God forbid. How about this?
And this is a really funny thing that I've noticed, and you may have seen this too. We've had some people on the show. We asked them about, do you think there'll be reforms at the IRS? They just go, yeah. We have talked to several people like that. Okay. And when I was at my event last week, I was also speaking to some very smart financial people. And of course, the question I always ask them, I always know what the answer is. But when I talk to financial people, I'm always asking, what do you think is going to be changing with the IRS? What do you think is going to be changing with taxes and the tax code and all this stuff? And their answer always is a non-answer. Okay. They always say, we don't pay much attention to the external factors because it's all about you. It's all about the entrepreneur. It's all about your fiscal concerns and your security and building a life that's best for you. I know that's what the answer is. I know. That's not what I'm asking, though. I want to know what your take is. Do you think the IRS, the Treasury Department, will come in and reform things and all the stuff? And they never want to answer it because from their perspective, right, that's not what investing is, right? You're not essentially trying to time markets and go in and out. You're trying to play the field and get the benefits under the current rules, but you're not making hard adjustments or hard shifts and massive sudden movements based on the shifting presidency, right? Otherwise, you're doing that every 2 years for midterms and every 4 years for the general elections. But it is curious, right, that the people in those positions don't even want to address it. They just don't think it's possible to reform the Department of Treasury. Like they laugh. No, Doge isn't going to touch the Treasury Department. They can't. Why not? Why is that the presumption? Why can't we reform all of that and get rid of all this garbage? Our country existed without it for a century. We didn't need it. We had a lot of growth and prosperity in America without it. So now we're the world reserve currency. We have a lot of additional benefits to this. So we can restructure this to make our American citizens not cattle tax slaves who are just squeezed for property taxes, income taxes, payroll taxes, social security taxes. Every time you got in an airplane, 50 taxes for that. You stay at a hotel, 50 taxes for that. Taxes on your water, taxes on your trash, taxes on your electricity. It's never ending. And they can't build anything with it. All that money just goes overseas to Lord knows what, back into Democrats, and inflates the property values around Washington, D.C. So we're not interested in having that happen anymore at a deficit. If we can give a bunch of people money and all this stuff because America's so prosperous and we're making like a profit or something, then we should have an American liberty dividend. We should have benefits from being in America. Our productivity should translate to our fellow countrymen, not to our oligarchical class. Things should be getting better for all of us. Costs should be going down and longevity should be going up. That is not currently happening right now. Not yet.
The rest of the world leans on our economy, breathes off our economy. Not only is our economy $29 trillion GDP, but we consume $20 trillion a year. We are the buyer of everybody's stuff. We buy everybody's stuff. So who's more important? The people who sell stuff or the people who buy stuff? So we are the buyer of everybody's commodities, products, goods and services. Everything comes from us. Let them pay
Yes.
a membership fee. We all understand that model. Let them pay. How about we, you and I,
Thank you.
and every single person we know pay less? How about no tax on tips? How about no tax on overtime? How about no Social Security? How about all those things? These are the kind of thoughts that will change America. I know what his goal is. No tax for anybody who makes less than $150,000 a year. That's his goal.
So
And
you're
that's what I'm working for.
Let's go. And that would just be a nice start, right? You can give a tax reprieve to $150,000 and below, and then slowly start working that way up once you can replace the top line revenue from taxation with other income from around the world. We're paying for it, right? When we subsidize these other countries with foreign aid and all of that stuff, that is our profit going out the door. And that profit should be turned back into America. Okay. We're paying, our country should have those investments, not the foreign powers. And I understand the argument for sending that money out all over the place. It buys influence and it buys countries, and you get some maybe allegiances, although we haven't seen much of it. Okay. Many of the countries around the world hate America, mock America, laugh at those of us who elect Donald Trump, think that we're beneath them some way or some shape and form, even though their countries are basically invaded now by other foreign powers and don't even exist other than in name only. But this is the type of reform that we want. We're tired of being the piggy bank for the entire world, providing security for everybody and not getting any benefits as a result of it. So Howard Lutnick and others are leading the charge, and we couldn't be more excited about it. $150,000 and below is a good start. Now, speaking of global affairs, Rubio and the State Department going to be interfacing with the Russians very soon. Rubio was asked about this point blank. What happens if the Russians reject that ceasefire proposal that was approved by the Ukrainians yesterday?
The Russian rejected the plan. How are you trying to take it from here?
Okay, what's your message to Canada?
We're gonna go out.
This one already.
No, we're gotta go now.
Okay, so that video didn't have anything inside of it. It was just a little short question. Marco Rubio asked point blank about the Russians rejecting the ceasefire proposal, but he didn't answer it. All right, so he got the question, but no answer on that one. A little bit of a letdown clip there, but so he's meeting with people. Now, earlier this week, we talked about China and China building ships and whether China is a real threat to the United States or not. And I was making the point that I had read an article before that China had mandated that even their consumer ships, right, their commercial ships had to still be built to military standards. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I did read about that. In other words, that every single ship, even small boats, are being made towards military standards so that they can be repurposed if needed in the event of a Taiwanese invasion. Says here, Chinese dominance, Fox News hitting the panic button with people in Congress. A bipartisan group of military veterans are rolling out a bill aimed at revitalizing the commercial ship sector. This is no drill, they say. A fundamental pillar of America's security, our naval supremacy, is under threat from the communist Chinese. Says Green said China's Navy is now the largest in the world, surpassing the U.S. with 350 estimated seafaring vessels compared to the U.S.'s 280. That happened fast. China has used its fleet to erode freedom of navigation, harass civilian ships, intimidate our allies, like in the Philippines. To maintain our strategic edge, we must invest full speed ahead in our maritime industrial base. The goal will be to develop policy and legislative recommendations, and saying that shipbuilding was the backbone of Virginia and other places. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. A single Chinese shipbuilder managed more output by tonnage in 2024 alone than the U.S. has in its entirety since World War II. Holy crap! A single Chinese shipbuilder managed more output by tonnage in 2024 in 1 year than the U.S. has in its entirety since World War II. Wild. Okay. Wild. And you can't win wars when you have that output capacity. They can just output you. And they have about 1 billion more people than we do. So that's not ideal. And this is the same pattern that we're seeing over with the Russians and the Ukrainians. Like the Russians can build artillery faster than we can, faster than Europe can, faster than the Ukrainians can. So who's going to win? They are. And meanwhile, we've been just sitting over here, I don't know, doing gender studies. We've been building lots of pronouns, but not a lot of ships or other materials. So that's a wild number. And that number parallels other industries too. We've seen that the Chinese are building nuclear power plants, 100, like a year. It's wild. It's wild numbers, what they're doing. And the U.S. is asleep at the wheel. Totally wild. Now we're waking up. So Tom Homan also talking about the border and ripping the New York governor, Kathy Hochul. Here's what he said about her denying access to the Border Patrol so that they can come in and take care of criminal illegal aliens.
We got Governor Hochul who stood on national TV after NYPD officers were assaulted, saying she thinks criminal aliens should be deported. She said the same thing after a young woman was burned alive on a subway by an illegal alien. So she says, yeah, criminal aliens should be deported. However, when Mayor Adams meets with me and wants to help us arrest criminal aliens, get us back on Rikers Island, she goes down there and tries to fire them. She's got the green light law where ICE officers and CBP officers can't get DMV data. When they pull the car over here, they don't even know who they are because they can't get data from DMV because she locked them out. And if she says they need a warrant to get that data, and if they get the warrant to get that data, what's New York do? They notify the bad guy that we're investigating him. So I'm up here calling her out for sanctuary policies.
All right, there's Tom once again eating that apple from yesterday. We love Tom. We just munching the heck out of that in front of all those liberals. Yep, you're getting deported. You're getting deported. You're getting deported. And the list goes on and on. So that's Tom Homan. That's the roundup, my friends. Let's see what you say about all of this.